everyone, welcome to another episode of High Energy Girl. And today's awesome guest is Daniel Raz, who went to the University of British Columbia in Canada to study exercise and nutrition. And while over 95% of his classmates wanted to be a physiotherapist, he wanted to be a fitness trainer so that he could give others the same feelings he had and confidence that translates into all the areas of their life. We had a good time talking, so let's go and say hello to Daniel. Hey everyone, welcome to High Energy Girl, a podcast helping women to age stronger because it is never too late to get fit, be strong, and feel sexy. I'm your host, Tracy Gluhite, health coach and personal trainer and founder of highenergygirl.com. Each week, we will either have a guest interview, which will provide you encouragement or an actionable tip to help you age stronger, or I will do a solo episode. Please also join our awesome Facebook group called High Energy Girls, and I'm looking forward to see you on the inside of that group and hope you enjoy today's show. Create Whole Body Wellness, a powerful new advancement in energy medicine. Increase your energy, empower your life. I am super excited to announce that I am now a bioenergetics practitioner. And many people are like, well, what is bioenergetics? So imagine that our body is controlled by our energy field, and these fields get distortions and blockages, which create physical and emotional symptoms. So how do we get energy blockages? From stress, toxins, EMFs, emotional traumas, physical scars, and physical traumas. All you need to do is decode the human body field to get to the root cause and restore your energy for life. For more information, head on over to the blog at highenergygirl.com/bioenergetics with an X. That's BIOENERGETIX, and heal your energy for life. Hey, Daniel, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Definitely, I'm excited to be here.
So for the listeners that don't know you yet, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself?
For sure. So I'm an online fitness trainer. As you can probably hear from my accent, originally I'm from Israel. When I was 6, my family and I, we moved to China. I grew up there. Then I have two older brothers. One of them was in Australia. The other one went to the United States. So I'm like, okay, let's try Canada. I went to University for Exercise and Nutrition in Canada, became an in-person trainer. And after the lockdown, I'm like, okay, let's try this online thing. And have been doing online training ever since.
And how do you like it?
Definitely, I like it a lot. I originally went to school for to be a physiotherapist, a physical therapist. But after my second year of school, I'm like, let's try personal training. I think I like that a lot more. And you get a lot of compliments that you won't get otherwise, because with physical therapy, you only get people after they already injured themselves, after it's already like too late, right? But in personal training, you get to prevent a lot of, diseases. You get to help people get off the medication. It's a very rewarding job.
Cool. And now that you're doing it online, you have a bigger reach too, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So let's talk about what do you feel like people need to hear? What inspiration do you have for the listeners of how they can change their life?
I feel the most important thing is to start with what I call the easy wins, because in January 1st, everybody decides after they haven't done any exercise at all to go to the gym for 2 hours every single day. After their diet has been trashed, they decide to only eat fish and vegetables and nothing else. They set such unrealistic expectations for themselves that they can never keep. So go the opposite approach. Let's start with the easy wins, things that take minimal time and effort, that move the needle in your favor, and that will show you that you can actually get results. Because a lot of people say they lack motivation, but I actually believe that people lack tangible results. Because if anybody sees results week after week after week after week, they'll be motivated by themselves to push harder and do more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the results are the motivation.
Exactly.
Cool. And what type of things do you have your clients do? Like lifestyle changes do you recommend to begin with?
Right. So I say let's start with things that don't take any time and effort. And as I mentioned, move the needle in your favor. So, as an example, everyone sleeps, right? Now, unfortunately, I can't simply snap my fingers and make it that there's 25 or 26 hours a day, so you can sleep an extra hour or two. But what I can do is give you a few tips that will allow you to improve the quality of your sleep. And if you improve the quality of your sleep, even 6 high quality hours is better than 9 poor quality, and doesn't take time, doesn't take effort, and allows you to have more energy. You are able to build more muscle, lose more fat, your hormones are in place, and everything is a lot better that way. Another easy win I say is always have like a water bottle within arm's reach. Always have something close to you can grab and drink, right? Because if you only have not just water, but if you only have healthy options within your vicinity, you'll make healthy choices. If there's ice cream, within reach, you'll eat it. But if you have to drive 2 hours to eat ice cream, you probably won't, right? So it's about setting yourself up that you don't have to use willpower. It's actually easy to make the healthy choices and difficult to make the unhealthy choices.
Oh, that's a good one. So let's break it down. Let's start with sleep. What are your tips to help people have higher quality sleep?
Right. So there are like 17,000 different tips, but I break it down to 3 broad categories. So the first one is you want your room to be as dark as possible. So blackout curtains, you can cover any electronic lights with a towel, you can wear an eye mask. For the longest time, I put a shirt over my head because I couldn't find a comfortable eye mask, but I'm glad that I did because it's truly life-changing. And just obviously turn all the lights off. You want as dark as possible. Secondly, cool room temperature. So around 68 degrees Fahrenheit, 90 degrees Celsius. If turning the fan, you can turn the fan if turning the AC is too expensive. Right, you can have a thick blanket and a thin blanket. You can take a hot shower or hot bath before bed. Also, you can sleep naked. Once you try it once, you never go back. A lot more free, and it's less hot under there, right? So
don't tell my husband that. I don't want him to hear that tip.
So dark as possible, cool room temperature. And third one, which everyone struggles with, is low stimulation before bed. So avoid going on TikTok or social media, getting triggered, watching the news, having heavy arguments. Instead, you want to meditate, you want to journal, you want to do something that's calming and relaxing.
Yeah, read a book with pages that you can hold in your hands. That's what I like to do, is read a good book.
Yeah, that's definitely a great way to wind down.
Yeah, and so talk about the hot shower, hot bath, because that's so counterintuitive for most people.
Right, because our body likes to maintain homeostasis, which basically means being like in a stable body temperature. So if you're in a hot bath or hot shower, then your body heats up. But the moment you get out, everything cools down. So it's as if you are in a cool room temperature, but in your body, and then you fall asleep way faster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't make sense like when you think about it on the outside, but yeah, it really works. So let me see your water bottle, Daniel.
Oh, it's actually 2 arms reaches just because. But
okay. Good. I'm glad it's not a, scrunchy plastic.
No.
I hate those things. I always tell.
I definitely feel you on that one.
This is mine. I use a glass, and it's not clear because I put some aminos in there.
Fair enough.
So what about nutrition, Daniel? How do you help your clients eat healthier?
Definitely. So I personally believe it's pretty arrogant to give a strict meal plan saying you have to eat this, you can't eat that, because I don't know your taste buds. To me, it's like you have to wear this shirt, you have to wear this pants, you can't wear anything else. Everybody has their own style, their own outfits, their own way of doing things. I don't believe there's a one food that everyone should completely avoid, and there's no one food that everyone should eat. Everyone's unique. So the way I go about it is I tell my clients to take 5 or 10 minutes to write everything you eat, everything you've ever eaten in your life ever. Don't filter if it's expensive, healthy, convenient. Just write everything you can possibly think of. After you do that, I say let's characterize them into 4 main categories. So first is healthy, tasty. Second is healthy, untasty. Third is not healthy, not tasty. And fourth is not healthy, not tasty. So everyone can tell if it's tasty or not, right? Do you enjoy eating it? Do you not enjoy eating it? And for healthy, I say, think about how you feel about 10 or 15 minutes after you eat it. Usually with healthy food, you feel light and energized. And with unhealthy food, you feel sluggish and tired, right? Now, ideally, once you do this exercise, you have an expert like myself or Tracy that can help you be like, hey, this food is not that healthy, or a lot of people think it's unhealthy, but it actually isn't, right? Ideally. But if not, 80% of the time, most people can have a pretty accurate sense. So after they do that exercise, I tell them 80% of what you should eat, 80% of your meal plan should come from healthy and tasty, right? Things that you enjoy and things that are good for you. Then I say 10% is not so healthy but tasty. So the donut, cookies, whatever, things that you enjoy to treat yourself. And the other last 10% is the healthy but not so tasty. And for this, I'm not talking about things that you found disgusting, not things that you can't eat, but things that you don't particularly love. So for myself, as an example, a few years ago, I didn't like onions. I didn't hate them. I just didn't love them. But I recognize that they're healthy. So I'm like, okay, every time I eat soup, every time I order a sandwich, every time I make chicken, every time in my salad, I'm going to sprinkle a bit of onions. And then every week I'm going to put a bit more onions. And after doing it for a few months, now I actually like onions. So it's moved from the healthy, untasty to the healthy, tasty category. And that way, I am a firm believer that dieting is not about eliminating, but about adding. It's about adding more foods that you enjoy rather than removing. Mm-hmm. And then the final category is things that are not healthy, not tasty. And I always give the example of sometimes people give you like alcohol or like some sauce that you don't like, or sometimes you order something like a dessert that is not healthy, but because you ordered it, you want to eat it. Hey, the money's already wasted. Don't stuff your face with things you don't enjoy. If it's not healthy, you don't like it, don't eat it. There's no obligation to finish what's on your plate. You're not saving anyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a sunk cost.
Yep.
Oh, that's funny. That's a great exercise. I love it. I've never done that or thought about that.
Appreciate
that's a lot of fun. It's a tactical approach so they can really have awareness. And I like the way you thought, okay, well, I don't like onions, but let's find some creative ways to help me like them. I find that the best way. So, okay, here's an example that happened to me yesterday. So my husband he loves growing stuff. And so we have a huge garden and he brought in 2 big head of cauliflower. And I don't prefer cauliflower. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to find a really good recipe to make cauliflower. And one of my favorite chefs out of New York City is Alison Roman. Mm-hmm. And I have one of her cookbooks. And so I found a recipe for this roasted cauliflower that she makes that was to die for. I ate half of it, and I ate the other half this morning. So in in a day, basically, I ate an entire head of cauliflower. So I find that helps is finding some really good chefs that, have amazing recipes and just take now, okay, I'm going to find, we picked the Tuscan kale. I'm like, okay, now I'm going to find a good recipe for this because I can make Tuscan kale. It's good. I don't mind it, but I want to love it. You know what I mean? There's that difference. So that's kind of, another fun tip. Find ways to love it.
That's definitely a great point because another thing I like to tell my clients is every month or every couple of weeks, go to the grocery store and buy a food that you've never eaten before ever. So like a new vegetable or a new type of fish. So for example, for myself, I never tried Brussels sprouts, not because I didn't like it, just because I never got a chance to eat it. Then when I tried it, immediately I'm like, oh, this is amazing, right? So there's so many foods that you don't know that you enjoy, you just have never tried it. Or like an exquisite dish from Jamaica or Japan, like a new type of food that you've never even heard of. It might be healthy, it might be super tasty, you just never tried it. So again, the entire purpose of this is to add more foods that you enjoy rather than eliminate.
Yeah, I love that. So Brussels sprouts, I have to say, when I was a kid growing up, Brussels sprouts were like my least favorite food, ever. And now the way I like to make them is you put them in the food processor and thinly slice them and then toss them with olive oil, salt, maybe some garlic. And then I roast them in the oven on like a rimmed cookie sheet, and sometimes if I'm feeling decadent, I'll add bacon.
You'll add what?
And bacon. So
bacon,
roasted Brussels sprouts with bacon. It's a crowd pleaser, I'll tell you.
Oh yeah. Other than bacon, I do everything you just said.
Oh, other than bacon. Oh, you don't use bacon. Well, I don't use it very often, like I said. But it does, like if I'm cooking for a crowd, I'll throw in a little bit of that.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I love those tips. And then what about lifestyle? Like, how do you help people with like motivation and just, I guess if they're calling you, they start off with that motivation. But I did a survey on Facebook a while back, and it was like motivation was the biggest thing that people were struggling with.
Right. Yeah, that's an excellent point. So one of the biggest things that I feel like help my clients the most is I really changed their mindset and the way they view health and fitness in general. Because I imagine, Tracy, that if you were to wake up tomorrow 400 pounds, you will still be able to look like you go back to being fit eventually, because you have that certain mindset, you have a certain standard to yourself, you know it's possible. Right? So even though it might be difficult, having that mindset, no matter where you and I get dropped in the world, no matter what body we are put in, eventually we'll be able to become fit because we have a certain way of talking to ourselves and a certain way of achieving things. So the biggest way for people to remain motivated is to just use words differently. So when people say, I don't have time to work out, I say, well, working out is not a dichotomy. It's not yes or no. It's how much did you work out? So if you can't do 100%, can you do 50%? Can you do 10%? Because even just 5 minutes of anything will get you the momentum of being able to remain consistent. And another thing is whenever my clients say like what I consider irrational statements, I like to correct them with another irrational statement so they realize that what they said was irrational. So as an example, somebody says, I'm too tired to exercise. That's like saying, I'm too sick to go to the doctor. Your excuse is the solution, right? Or when people say, I'm too busy to meal prep, that's that, or like, I'll meal prep when I have more time. That's like saying, I'll save money when I'm rich. You have it backwards. It doesn't make sense, right? And another example is you just mentioned motivation. So people say motivation doesn't last. Bathing and showering doesn't last. That's why we do it every day. You can't expect to take a shower, bathe one, and be like, cool, I'm good. No, you have to do it consistently. You have to get motivated consistently. So either talk to me, I send my clients like 30 seconds or 1 minute motivational videos, anything to spark them up, and just get them in a routine that allows them to be motivated.
Cool. Yeah, I think also it helps to look around you at all the people who are aging very, very poorly and, popping pills for symptoms and just like I'm 57. I know you're much younger. But
I would have not guessed it, by the way.
What?
I would have not guessed it, by the way. I would have been like, oh, she's probably 40.
Oh, well, thank you. But what happens is you watch your parents, like my dad had cancer 5 times. Wow. My mom has brain issues. And it's like, that's my motivation. Like, I don't want to age like them. And so, that's something I think helps is looking at the opposite. Like if you keep doing what you're doing, you know, it's
It's
crazy.
going to happen. Yeah.
So what else? What do you find is a big struggle for most of your clients?
Honestly, the biggest struggle is if they don't communicate with me, because I always tell them your success is directly correlated to how often you communicate with me. As long as you tell me what's happening, you'll get results. Because even if it's bad, there's things we can do to fix them. If you ate the donut, but you don't tell me that you ate the donut, and you keep gaining weight, I'm like, okay, let's try something new, but I don't know why. But if you're honest with me, I'm like, okay, if you have to have the donut, let's try this instead. We can adjust it. So the big struggle is when people are dishonest because they think I'll be mad at them. But the reality is, I'm here to help, right? As long as you're honest, as long as you communicate with me, we'll get results. If not, then we won't. And that's the reason why, like now that I'm a lot more experienced, I filter quite a bit. I don't just onboard anyone, right? I make sure to be like, is this super important to you? Will you communicate with me often? If everything's a yes, then things usually go pretty smooth.
Oh, that's cool. So do you usually work with men, right?
Yes.
Okay. And do they usually work out at home or at a gym?
Right. So my whole slogan is I help busy men lose weight without going to the gym, right? Because right now I'm actually on vacation in Mexico and there's no gym and I still get the exact same workout, right? And I actually discovered this during the lockdown that before 2020, I used to go to the gym all the time. But I realized that even though I didn't have access to the gym, I could still get great results. And that's because that's after knowledge of knowing what to do. I like giving the example that Gordon Ramsay can make a better meal with one pan than the average person can with 5 pans. It's not about how much equipment you have, it's about knowing what to do, right? So if you know what to do, then you don't need a bunch of fancy equipment. You just need the structure and the discipline, right? So if you have the plan, if you have accountability, results are guaranteed. Now, I do my best to give my clients both, right? And that way, you don't need to think there's no guesswork. You just, hey, here's the plan, here's accountability. You can talk to me, there's adjustments, because obviously you know this. You can make any exercise more difficult or easier. So if a push-up is too difficult, you can do knee push-ups, you can do wall push-ups. If a push-up is way too easy, you can do diamond push-ups, you can do elevated push-ups, right? So any body part, you can make a million modifications as long as you have the knowledge.
Mm-hmm. And do you like have them get bands or weights at home or body weight? What's your favorite fitness?
Right. My favorite is definitely bands because they're like $5 and they're so versatile. With dumbbells, if a 5 pound is too easy, you can get a 20. But if 20 is too difficult, you have to go down. Like you have to buy so many dumbbells or like so many different plates for it to be relevant. With bands, you can simply step slightly different, put in a different angle, and the entire resistance changes so much. So firstly, body weight, after a few weeks of body weight, I'm like, okay, you can get a few bands, and then you can really work everything.
Exactly. It's funny because during COVID, my son that lives in New York City, I sent him some bands. And so he started working out in his apartment and he got really buffed just by using bands. Like I was pretty shocked. I'm not a home workout person. I have to go to the gym, to like, I'm not a good at, unless I'm doing yoga, but at home, I had a hard time, but I found a gym that I was able to join that kind of opened on the sly. So I was so happy. Those couple months at home were like, and then what about nutrition? Do you give your clients meal plans? Do you customize that?
Right. So as I mentioned, I just see what they enjoy eating and then I make a few modifications. I never say you can't eat this or you have to eat that. I'm like, hey, try to eat more of this, try to eat less of that. And I get them to take a picture of everything they eat, especially for the first month or so, because there's a huge discrepancy between what people think they eat and what they actually eat. How much calories and protein they think they consume and what they actually consume. There's a huge gap. So I tell them to track because so many times they tell me, I ate 2 servings of rice. You take a picture, I'm like, that's at least 5, right? So I personally don't track anything, but that's because I've been doing it for so long. My intuition is pretty much on point. I know how many calories is in a serving of rice. I know how much protein is in a chicken leg, right? Just intuitively. But most people, if they haven't tracked for at least a couple of months, their intuition is way off. So I tell them to track for at least a month so I can help them. And after, if I believe that they are super competent, then I say, cool, you can keep going. You don't have to track. You can, because it will guarantee that you will hit the numbers. But if you feel like you have it mastered, then it's not a must. But initially, it is a must because your perception of reality is way off.
Oh, yeah. Plus, I think tracking curbs snacking. Like, I feel like if you're tracking, you're not going to be snacking.
That's a really good slogan. That's a good line. Tracking curbs snacking.
Oh, that's funny. I just said it. It wasn't meant to be a line. But it worked for me personally. Like, once I started tracking again, I really stopped with the snacking because my friend and I in January decided to be accountability buddies.
Yeah.
And so I used to snack a lot more. Now I only snack just to increase my protein. Like, I'll have a protein bar or a protein shake, but that's it, you know? So, how can people find you, Daniel? You've already given so much information and so many takeaways that people can apply today, which is always what I'm after. So,
yeah, obviously, I'm here to help. My website is danielrazfit.com. That's DANIELRAZFIT.com. My Twitter handle, which I'm most active on, is DanielRaz_fit. And you can also check me out on Instagram, DanielRazFit. I don't post as much, but I did used to post a lot. Right now, I'm doubling down on Twitter. That's where people love me the most. And just like with anything in life, if anything works, double down, keep going. And check me out. I give a lot more helpful tips. And if you're serious about improving your life even more, then you can message me and we can have a conversation, see if you're actually about it, actually serious. And if so, get pretty good results.
Awesome. I am so excited. I'm going to have to follow you on Twitter.
Appreciate that.
I just came back on Twitter. I left for a while, but now I'm back. So
definitely, yeah, I only joined Twitter recently, relatively, because I always thought it was politics and arguments, but there's a good side as well.
Okay, good. Yeah, I really left social media quite a bit because there was just too much drama, and I like to keep peace energy all the time. And it was a nice breath of fresh air, to be honest.
Yeah.
So what's your one thing that you want to leave the audience with, my dear?
The one thing I would say is invest in the most valuable asset that you have, which is yourself. Crypto, real estate, stocks may go up, may go down, but you will always be there. Your body is the most transferable skill there is. If you're extremely competent at piano, that's wonderful. But unless you have a piano with you, you can't show off that skill. You will carry your body with you everywhere you go. So invest in yourself accordingly.
Oh, I love it. Perfect. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. You're an absolute doll, and I really enjoyed speaking to you.
Same here. Thanks a lot for this.
Okay, that was a great conversation. I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you so much for listening. For complete show notes, please head on over to highenergygirl.com/show. Go out and make it a great day. Bye now. This podcast contains the opinion and thoughts of its host and guests. It is intended to provide helpful and informative material on the subjects covered. All statements made on the podcast have not been evaluated by the FDA and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. If the listener requires professional assistance or advice, please contact your personal medical doctor. Both host and guest specifically disclaim any responsibility for any liability, loss, or risk personal or otherwise, which is incurred as a consequence directly or indirectly of the use and application of any of the contents of these episodes. Like I said, this is my opinion and I could be wrong.